Hey, hi, hello. You are listening to the Flow the Grow podcast, a podcast for personal development, self-growth, fitness, nutrition, mindset, mental health, and spiritual wellness, anything under that wellness umbrella. If you're new here, my name is Sophia. I'm so glad you're here. And if you have been listening, you're back for another episode. Hello again. Welcome. I appreciate you. In today's episode, I wanted to talk about the phases of our cycle, the importance of knowing this for yourself, your body, so that you can align your workouts, your nutrition, how you kind of like your productivity, creativity, and more so just kind of keep it basic because I'm definitely not an expert in this. If you are wanting to, they call it cycle syncing, so you can cycle sync your workouts and like be a lot more specific with it. And I've been learning over the past few years by listening to other podcasts, other experts. I had Kylie, Serie on talking a little bit about it as well. So I will link that episode in the show notes so that you can go back and listen to that. But for myself, as I'm learning more about how I can align myself and my cycle with my workouts and everything, my nutrition, and how I can really live, I guess the word I just come back to is align. So really aligning everything to work for me. I used to always think that the cycle was, being on my period was, so by the way, if you're a dude, this is definitely for the ladies, but also if you have female friends and family, could also be important for you as well. Or maybe you're a coach or a trainer, also important to know. So just wanted to say that. But growing up, I always hated my cycle and thought it was the worst thing ever. And like, we're just kind of taught, okay, well, we have PMS and cramps and like, it sucks to have our period and blah, blah, blah. But really it can be an empowering thing. And it can be very, something that we can work with in our lives. And as I'm beginning to learn more about my own cycle, how I feel during different phases, trying to pinpoint when my phases are in the month, I'm also starting to utilize that in my one-on-one coaching and kind of introducing that to clients. So that way, I think one of the main things is that when we're on our period and at certain phases, so like a little bit before the menstrual phase, we have this time of where we feel tired, lethargic, bloated, blah, like we maybe don't have as much energy. We're not as driven or motivated. And there's a reason for this hormonally. Like it's not just in our heads. And growing up, I used to think it was in my head and I would force myself to be like, no, I got to get this high intense workout in. I got to lift heavy. I got to do all these things. And I would get down on myself if I couldn't do that or I didn't feel up to it. Or I would try and force myself into this high energy productive mode. And learning all of this, it's kind of this ease and release or relief that I don't have to necessarily do those things just because society tells us that's what we should do. And that it's just not really taught growing up. Like that would have been really freaking useful growing up. I remember when one of my best friends, she actually was the one to send me a episode and information about it. And I'm like, what? Like we have phases of our cycle and each phase there's certain things going on in our bodies. And like I was mind fucking blown. Okay. I just could not believe it. I'm like, why are we not taught this growing up? They like put us in sex ed and push birth control but they don't tell us what's going on in our bodies and they don't help us to work with that in our lives, in our day-to-day lives. And I just think it's such an empowering tool and something that we can use. And so today I just want to kind of do like an introductory type episode and a little bit of the basics, just things that I know and that I've learned for myself. So that way you can continue this conversation with yourself, with anyone that you know. You can do your own research and then make decisions for yourself. And before I get into all of that, I just want to let you know about my one-on-one coaching program. I have 2 spots available. If you're looking for some guidance with your nutrition, with your workouts, your fitness, movement, you're wanting to it's kind of an overall lifestyle-based coaching. I like to focus on sustainable results with people and your mindset, mental health. We talk about the thoughts that are in your head, the negative thoughts going on, and how you can turn those into positive thoughts, but also learn different tactics and things that you can do to help you in this journey when those times come where you feel like it's not working, you get discouraged, like all of those things. I do have a lot of a focus on nutrition currently since I'm going through a nutrition certification. And it doesn't mean that you have to count calories and macros. It's an option, but also we can start small and working with just maybe you start with drinking more water and incorporating more protein. Whatever it looks like, it's going to be really individualized for you and what you need and what you're looking for. So if you're interested, you can reach me a few different ways. So you can email me at flowwiththegirlpodcast@gmail.com. You do not have to be in the same vicinity or location as me. We can do this from virtually anywhere. So flowwiththegirlpodcast@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at Sophia_Dawn41. You can just shoot me a message in there. If we're connected on Facebook, you can also shoot me a message there. I will link all of those in the show notes below. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can see that and click on that. And I have a Flow with the Girl podcast Instagram account as well. Really messaging me anywhere would be perfect. In my Sophia_Dawn41 Instagram account, in my bio, you will see a link to my link tree and then a tab for one-on-one coaching. And I have a form on there that you can go ahead and just fill out, and then I will reach out to you. Okay, with that, let's jump into the content for today's episode. I'm going to go through the phases of our cycle, what they're called, and what's happening a little bit more in the body and how you might be feeling, different types of movement that you can do with each phase, and even some nutrition that you can incorporate. Something else that I want to mention is that you have the option here to go full in on cycle syncing and live according to your cycle, or you can take a few things here and there and incorporate it into your life. So meaning, let's say you are a bodybuilder or you are an athlete in a sport and your workouts, like it's kind of hard to sync your workouts with your cycle due to maybe like the season that you're in. So this is you. I just want this to be something that you're more aware of, and you can begin to learn for yourself, like learn more about your body and what's going on with each phase. And really, I guess just awareness is the big thing, and controlling what you can to work with your cycle when you are, like, if you are a bodybuilder or an athlete or like whatever your situation is where you can't necessarily fully cycle sync. So I'm not saying that you have to change your workouts according to the phase that you're in, but you can have awareness and you can kind of bring more ease to your mind and say, you know what, it's okay if I'm not fully highly motivated today. It's okay if I'm not going as hard as I can in my workouts. It's okay that I don't feel as strong in my lifts that I'm doing, or you have to maybe go lighter weights for some workouts. It's okay that maybe in your practice of whatever the sport is, you're not, again, feeling as maybe energetic or going, again, as hard as you can. And this information is not only applicable to workouts, but also just your everyday life, in your work life, your social life, productivity, being creative, scheduling events, scheduling meeting, like going out, having outings. Like this is not just for the physical aspect, but also, again, applicable to other areas of your life. We have 4 phases in our menstrual cycle. Now, the menstrual cycle is typically a 28-day cycle, but it can range and vary from 21 to 35 days. So first off, we have the menstrual phase. The body sheds its uterine lining, which causes the bleeding. It's usually days 1 to 5, but it can last 3 to 7 days. So it varies depending on the person. Hormonally, what's going on is estrogen and progesterone get very low. Energy levels are likely also very low due to the estrogen and progesterone levels being low. You have a loss of nutrients. So you want to look for foods that are higher in zinc and iron. This is a time to keep your workouts light and gentle. And you also might feel a little more reflective. It might be a good time for journaling, for meditation, for just pausing, breathing, just taking a moment of rest and unwinding. Other more specific foods to include would be flax and pumpkin seeds, bone broth, high quality proteins, things like grass-fed, grass-finished beef if you are an animal or if you eat animal products, eggs, fish, anything that is a good source of iron. For workouts and movement, keep them light, keep them gentle. So things like gentle stretching, yoga, going for walks. If you're lifting, just like not high intensity, and maybe keeping the workout or keeping the lifts and the weights a little bit lighter than what you normally would do. Phase 2 is the follicular phase, usually happening on days 6 to 14, and it could last anywhere from 11 to 27 days, and on average about 16. In this phase, estrogen and progesterone are on the rise. However, even though these hormones are on the rise and increasing, they're still at their lowest points. So this is a phase where you still might feel very lethargic, very tired. As they increase, you might start to feel like you do have more energy towards the end of this phase, and so incorporating some higher intensity workouts involving strength, endurance could be beneficial. You might begin to feel a little bit more creative in this stage. Fiber is going to be important. Include some leafy greens, citrus, legumes, fish, avocado. Other movement and exercise to include could be cycling, running, swimming, hiking. But again, listen to your body. The third phase, we move into the ovulatory phase around days 15 to 17, could last 1 to 2 days. This is when the egg releases, estrogen peaks, progesterone keeps increasing, hormone levels are at their peak, and libido may be the highest since this is the time when your body is preparing for pregnancy. Could be a good time to do HIIT or more high intensity style training or strength training. So if you're lifting, this could be a really good time to lift heavier weights, to try and lift heavier than you normally do. You might notice that you have higher energies. You might be more social than usual. You might feel more positive, more self-confident, body confident. And unfortunately, this is the shortest phase. So of course, when we're feeling this high vibe, high energy, confidence, it is the shortest phase. So you might feel more energized. You also might find that you don't have as much of an appetite as you do pre-menstrual phase and during the menstrual phase. High quality proteins and fats would be a great nutritional source during this time, during this phase. Antioxidant rich fruit, so like the berries. And then we move into the luteal phase, which is days 18 to 28. Can last anywhere from the 11 to 17 day mark, on average 14. You may feel like you want to get shit done and cross things off your to-do list. Progesterone and estrogen remain high, but then they quickly start to fall. If the egg isn't fertilized, energy levels begin to lower, mood may fluctuate. This is where PMS might occur. So like for me, I get bloating, I have really bad cramps, I get easily annoyed, easily irritated, and which is not usually normal for me. I'm already an emotional person, but there's a couple of days where I am even more emotional. And all these PMS symptoms are related to nutrition. So it's highly recommended, and I encourage you to stay away from or dial back the alcohol consumption, the sugar, the highly processed sugar type foods. Because as I'm learning more about PMS and cramps and all of that, it all leads back to sugar and to alcohol, and to what my nutrition has been like all of the previous days before this phase, and whether or not my hormones are balanced or imbalanced. And all of that really affects to what degree of pain I'm in when the time comes when I have those PMS symptoms, and even if I have them. You can also begin to dial back the intensity of your workouts. You maybe will want to start to focus on movement that is more restorative and calming to the body, avoiding any additional stress on your body as it prepares for menstruation and for that phase. You might begin to feel more hungry as your appetite increases. So it's important to consume complex carbs, B vitamins, magnesium. So a great time for some dark chocolate, calcium, and You might feel like your digestion is a little bit off as well. And it could also, due to progesterone, could trigger some constipation. And I know like this is something that was definitely not taught or talked about. And so I always kind of wondered like, what's going on with my digestion? But it happens to a lot of us. This also could be a good time to experiment with the way that you eat and maybe eating lighter foods, but more often throughout the day, especially if you feel like you are always on an emotional roller coaster during this time before your period. And to kind of end off with the 4 phases of our cycle, I'm just going to say, again, listen to your body, listen to what it is asking for. And if you have a certain specific craving, maybe asking what is the food and what are the nutrients either in that food or the nutrients that your body is deficient in. And that's maybe what your body is craving and really needing. So for example, in that luteal phase, before we menstruate, maybe you're craving sweets. Your body might be craving magnesium. And if you didn't notice already, all of the nutritional needs during each phase was really kind of an overarching theme of high quality foods, high quality, nourishing, nutrient dense foods. You don't have to get too hung up on specifics of, oh, I need this food, this nutrient, whatever. You absolutely can. You can look more into that, but also high quality, nourishing, nutrient dense foods throughout. This is also where it's super important now as females. And if you are on a health and wellness program, a fitness program, if you are trying to lose weight, instead of looking day to day at your weight and comparing day to day, instead of doing this whole like 24-hour thing, recognizing that we don't operate on a 24-hour hormonal cycle. It is about a 28-day cycle. So it is almost more beneficial and optimal to compare your days and weeks to each month. So for example, comparing today to next month's today. So like if it's like today's the 26th, comparing it to next month's 26th. So you're really doing yourself a disservice if you are comparing how you're feeling, how your body is feeling, your weight on the scale to a day-to-day comparison. So we really got to kind of zoom out and look month to month. Right now, something that I'm doing with my fiance is creating. So we have a big piece of paper and she wrote down the months and the days and kind of in columns. And then I'm marking off when I get my period and I make note of how heavy it is, if I have cramps. I am tracking my weight because I kind of want to see how that looks like in time. And then I write down if I have cramps. I write down how I was feeling throughout the day. If I was feeling high energy, creative, productive, I just kind of take note of all of those things. So that way in time, over the next few months, I can kind of look back and compare month to month versus day to day. And I can compare my weeks, like week 1 of the month, week 2 of the month, to the next month, and then the next month. So a quick recap here. Phase 1, the menstrual phase. Very low hormones, more sensitive, less energy, more emotional. Consider restorative type of movement, walking, yoga, lighter workouts, lighter weights. Also consider foods that are higher in iron and zinc and magnesium. Number 2, the follicular phase. Energy levels are beginning to rise. You may still feel lethargic, more tired. And as estrogen and progesterone rise, you may feel more creative and want to spend more time mapping out ideas, planning your month, being a little more social, more optimistic. Consider having and eating more fibrous foods. And as energy levels increase, it could be a good time to include higher intensity workouts, whether it's strength like lifting or endurance. Ovulation, you're probably feeling more confident, higher energy, high libido. This is a good time to incorporate higher intensity training or heavier lifting. You might notice that your focus is high, you're more social than usual, more confident than usual. Consider eating more high quality proteins and fats and antioxidant rich fruits like berries. And then the luteal phase. This is also the get shit done phase and cross things off your to-do list. You might feel a little more chill, more introverted, more productive. You may feel like in the first part of this phase, you have higher energy and it's a good time to continue higher intensity workouts, lifting, and then you want to dial back that intensity of your workouts to more restoring, calming type of movement as your body begins to prepare for menstruation. And this is also when PMS symptoms may occur. Consider consuming more complex carbs, B vitamins, magnesium, and even consider spreading out your meals more so throughout the day than you normally would. Remember that we operate on a 28-day cycle, not a 24-hour cycle. Our energy, productivity, mood shifts and changes from one day to the next and week to week. Consider comparing how you feel and your weight, if you're tracking your weight, not day to day, but more so zooming out and looking at it from week 1 of January to week 1 of February. Listen to your body, begin to learn more about your body, begin to live in more balance, and don't take my word for it, but do your own research as well. Stay aware, stay patient with yourself, and control what you can in order to live more and work with your cycle to help you in your everyday life, your workouts, your productivity, your creativity, your energy, and in your awareness. I hope this was helpful to at least someone. I hope that someone out there listening can walk away having more awareness about themselves and begin to work on that awareness within themselves, within yourself. If this was helpful, let me know. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. And with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, week, weekend. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Flow with the Grow. I'll see you next week for your daily dose of positivity and growth.